everybody. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. I am so honored to be here today on behalf of the Fellowship of Reconciliation. My name is Juliet. I'm here on behalf of the Executive Director, Kristen Stoneking. FOR is the largest and oldest interfaith nonviolence and justice organization in this nation, and it is also the birthplace of the Muslim Peace Fellowship. As an organization, we have a long history of interreligious solidarity and standing up for peace and justice. Recently, we launched a campaign called Give Refugees Rest. This was a response to a lot of the rhetoric we heard after the Paris bombings, when we saw another surge of Islamophobic rhetoric from our governors. Part of this campaign is asking the 31 governors who, after the Paris attacks, said that they would not welcome refugees into their states anymore if they were Muslim, particularly for Syrian refugees. We then asked our members across the nation and anyone who is in solidarity to send a letter to their governor along with a pillowcase as a symbol to give refugees rest, to give these people a basic human right to rest after something as awful that's going on in Syria. We are happy that, we don't know exactly because of our efforts, but the governor of Tennessee has stepped down from his position of not welcoming Syrian refugees. This is a small victory, and we look forward to continuing to fight for the same thing across the rest of the state. Also, FOR led a delegation to Speaker of the House Paul Ryan's office last month, where Kristen, our executive director, sat down with his legislative assistant, and during this dialogue, they promised to have Speaker of the House visit a mosque in Janesville, Wisconsin, where he's from. We're hoping that this can also be a symbol of something that we're doing here today, is hands around the mosque in solidarity with Muslims. There's no doubt that during this presidential campaign, there's so much Islamophobic rhetoric that's going on, and the main thing to me is seeing that we need to address these unchecked assumptions, because if not, it can lead to some pretty terrible things we've seen in the last couple of days, especially with different attacks against Muslims. So when I was having a conversation with my friend who is a Muslim and a mother, I asked her, what can we do as a community not to just say our support, but actually put this into action? And some things that she suggested: if you see someone saying this kind of rhetoric, stand up, say something. And you don't have to be aggressive, but stand up for that. Talk to your kids. They hear this kind of rhetoric at school, on the media. Write an opinion editorial to your local newspaper. Talk to your local representatives. Looking around, I'm so happy to see people of different communities here that usually are thought of as to be so different, but we're all coming together to show that we're all one. So thank you for being here. I know that there's no question in my mind that violence begets violence, but I also believe that peace begets peace. So let's keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lawrence. Next we have Dr. Shirani.
I really want to thank Samina and everyone for organizing this thing, and it's magnificent to see people coming from all over the Bay Area. That usually there are events like this that are organized within a county, and today we've taken down the borders, and we're all one. That's the beauty of it. I'm with the San Jose Peace and Justice Center and also the South Alameda County Peace and Justice Coalition. The San Jose Peace and Justice Center was founded in 1957 and has been fighting for not just peace but social justice for all for 60 years now. The South Alameda County Peace and Justice Coalition was founded after 9/11, and particularly focused not only against war but against the scapegoating of Arabs at that time, and then the registration and all of that sort of hysteria. And I particularly want to recognize Esther Ho, who's no longer with us, but she was one of these champions of inclusion and rights for all. While we're talking about rights, I want to just touch on one thing because it's been mentioned here about the Constitution. The Constitution of the United States gives rights not to citizens, but to people. That means no matter who you are, if you're on the soil of the United States of America, you have rights. We all do. Now, I want to talk next about actions. How do we act? Now, we've talked about diversity, about recognizing and celebrating our diversity, which is really incredible here in the Bay Area. The next level, though, that's not enough. The next level is community. And that's what we're doing here today, is building community, getting to know each other so that we can build friendship. But there's a third level. The third level is solidarity. That when a disadvantaged community or a targeted community is under attack, as it is today, and it is as it has happened a number of times in our history, we must stand in solidarity with that community, because that community cannot stand alone. And then there's a fourth level. And this fourth level came about, I noticed it particularly in the Black Lives Matter movement. Because in the Black Lives Matter movement, what happened was that although black youth were being killed right and left by police brutality, for the first time, in a big way, it was other communities, even in a city like Oakland, which has a large black population. The rallies that I saw for Black Lives Matter were predominantly whites and Latinos and others, non-African American, and that was so beautiful. So the fourth level is champion the rights of others, champion the rights of those who are being targeted. So once again, if you remember nothing else about what I've said, remember these four things. 1, diversity, celebrate. 2, build community, right? 3, stand in solidarity with communities that are being attacked. And 4, champion those rights for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Next, I'd like to welcome Reverend Melanie Weiner.
Hi, I'm Melanie Weiner, and I am the Associate Minister at Foothills Congregational Church, United Church of Christ in Los Altos. I often find myself distressed when listening to the news at the extent to which we've become a fearful people. We hear report after report after report of violent events, terrible events at home and abroad, and we don't know what to do. When we live in fear, it's easy to react by assigning blame, and then by trying to make ourselves safe from those people that we blame. We need only to listen to political rhetoric in this election year to hear all about this. We hear every day how we need to keep out all of this group or send away all of that group, that our safety can somehow be guaranteed by protecting ourselves from people who don't look like us, who don't share our culture or share our faith. The loudest voices in my own faith sometimes, some voices in Christianity that we hear in the news or on the talk shows, feed this division and feed the fear. But those voices don't speak for me. They don't speak for the congregation that I serve. I would like to venture to say that they don't speak for most of us in this country. I need only to look at the Christian scriptures to know how I'm to relate to people of other races, of other cultures, and of other faiths. Jesus tells me that the greatest commandments are to love God with all my heart, my soul, and my strength, and to love my neighbor as myself. And just in case I misunderstand what he means, Jesus goes on to explain that my neighbor is not that person who looks like me, who lives like me, or who prays like me. Well, neighbor, I am here to tell you today that I love you, that I respect you, that I want to know you better. This country is one of beautiful diversity. People from all over the world, people of many beliefs living side by side. We must move past reacting out of fear and move toward responding to one another out of compassion and respect and love. This beautiful event is a good start. We can't live in fear when we open our hearts and our homes to our neighbors, when we pray together and when we break bread together. Let's carry what we experienced this evening back to the communities from which we come. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. Next, I'd like to welcome Mr. Chris Shah.
Jai Jinendra, Namaste, and good afternoon to all fellow brothers and sisters, and of course, Salam Alaikum. My name is Girish Shah. I'm a Jain lay leader. I'm a co-founder and past president of Jain Center or Jain Council in Milpitas. Those of you who do not know about Jainism, it's an ancient religion from India, and it has the roots, same roots as Buddhism and Jainism. I'm going to start with two little poems that will give you thoughts that Jainism thoughts. Maitri bhavanu pavitra jaranu mujhe hayya mavaya kare suptao asakar vishwanu evi pavana nitya rahe. I'm sure you understood all that. May the sacred stream of amity flow forever in my heart. May all the beings in the universe prosper. Such is my cherished desire. This was just the first stanza of a poem written by Jain Guru Sri Chitra Banerjee. Next, I'm going to read an aphorism from the scriptures. Kama me savajiva kamantu me mitti me savabuesu veram majjam nakani. Again, you should absolutely understood all that. I forgive all living beings. May all living beings grant me forgiveness. My friendship is with all living beings. I have no animosity with any living being. These two things says about at least some of the principles of Jainism. Friendship and forgiveness brings equanimity and tranquility in our hearts. Tranquility begets compassion and love. Love begets unity and destroys hatred and fear. The ancient Jain scriptural aphorism says, Paraspapragraho Jivana, which says, all life is bound together by mutual support and interdependence. We are all interdependent. So, in that spirit, let us spread the message of friendship. Let us stand together with our Muslim friends and let them know that we have nothing to fear as we are all with them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, I'd like to welcome Rabbi Haim Korzinski.
Shalom Aleichem. My name is Haim Korzinski. I'm the rabbi of Congregation Eitz Chaim in Palo Alto. I arrived here back in July after spending 7 years living and working in Santiago, Chile. And I want to acknowledge and appreciate Rabbi Sheldon Lewis, who's here for welcoming me and opening up the network of interfaith colleagues in the Palo Alto area, Reverend Eileen Altman, as well as Samina Sundas. A couple of weeks ago, I extended an invitation to Samina to teach with me at a very large Jewish gathering of over 500 Jews. And Samina had the courage to accept the invitation, and it was a real pleasure to co-teach with you. And it was there that she invited me here today, and it's a real pleasure to be with all of you and to be part of this extended network, this extended interfaith network of friendship and solidarity. Our holy book, the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, teaches us in Leviticus 18, Lo ta'amod al da'am reyacha. You shall not stand idly by your neighbor's blood. I am the Lord. The Talmud, which are conversations by rabbis in the first few centuries before and after the Common Era, explain how to implement this teaching of the Torah. The Talmud says when the community is in trouble, a person should not say, I will go to my house and eat and drink and be at peace with myself. And it also says if your neighbor is drowning in the river, or if a wild beast or robbers come upon him, you shall not stand idly by. An important 18th century commentator, Rabbi Yitzchak Magrisho, the Me'am Loez, also wrote, in all these cases, God is saying, do not stand still and say, all is well with me, when you see your friend in danger. You must make every effort with all your power to save him. And this reminds me of the haunting words of Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel, his description of the impact of those who stood idly by during one of the darkest periods of our history. He wrote, victims suffered more from the indifference of the onlookers than from the brutality of the executioner. The cruelty of the enemy would have been incapable of breaking the prisoner. It was the silence of those who he believed to be his friends, cruelty more cowardly and more subtle, that is what broke his heart. We learn this in the Torah, we learned it again in the Talmud, and the message is reinforced in every generation. And that is why I stand here today with my neighbor to say that when you suffer, I suffer. When you are attacked, I am attacked. When you are in trouble, I am in trouble. That is why I'm here today, to say, you are not alone, I am not alone, and we are not alone. We stand together.
Thank you, Rabbi. Next, I'd like to welcome Ms. Komal Ahmed.
Assalamualaikum. So I think it's a true testament to Samina that when you're an hour and a half late for a program, and instead of scolding you, she smiles and she puts her arms around you and she says, I'm so glad to see you, Rita. So thank you, Samina, for having me here. My name is Komal Ahmed. So I'll just tell you my story. I was a senior at UC Berkeley, and I was walking down the street, and walking down Telegraph Avenue, and I encountered this homeless man on the street begging for food. You know, it's pretty common for Berkeley, and something about him compelled me to stop and invite him to join me for lunch. And during lunch, he's sitting right across from me, and he got his food before I did, and just was inhaling the food. And I saw, because he was waiting for me to get my food, so I said, you can eat, go ahead and eat. And he began to scarf that food down, because he was actually really hungry. And in between bites, when you could see that his hunger was kind of satiated, he began to tell me a story. His name was John. He just came back from his second tour in Iraq. And because his benefits hadn't kicked in, John hadn't eaten in 3 days. Imagine, 3 whole days without food. And this hit me like a ton of bricks because I had just come back from naval summer training, and in a few months I was going to commission as an officer in the United States Navy. And so I'm very well looking at someone who could be my future. He went from the battlefield of Iraq to face another battle at home, hunger. And to add insult to injury, right across the street from where John and I were having lunch, Berkeley's dining hall was throwing away thousands of pounds of food. And I was like, well, this sucks. I could fix this. And so I started our nation's first food recovery organization on a college campus. And we recovered excess food from businesses. So you recovered excess food from businesses that would otherwise throw it away, and then donated it to communities in need. What I realized through that process is that that's an extremely inefficient method. Depending on student groups to recover food. One day I was in class, and I'm sure I'm going to go over. So one day I was in class, but I think this is important, and I think yeah. So I was in class, and a dining hall manager called me. And he's like, you know, we had an event, no one showed up, we have 500 sandwiches left over. Do you want them? I was like, yeah, of course we want them. So I dash across campus, and no one has a car. So I rent a Zipcar, and I go through our one-way streets up to Berkeley's loading dock, and I load this food in. And remember, this is perishable food, so it could go bad really quickly. So I leave the air conditioning on, and I load my trunk up. That takes about a half an hour. I'm like a little brown girl, like loading all this stuff up myself. And so then I called the list of nonprofits. A third of them don't answer the phone. A third of them say, yeah, no, we're okay for today. And then the last third say, yeah, we could take 10 sandwiches or 15 sandwiches. Awesome, now I have 485 sandwiches. I have like 4 hours of reading ahead of me. I've got to go to like physical training. I'm like, I have stuff to do. And it was really literally on the side of the road. I'm like, it shouldn't be this hard to do the right thing. It shouldn't be this hard to do a good thing. And I look at the Zipcar app and I'm trying to extend my reservation and I can't because someone else has booked it. So, but I looked at it and I saw like how cool would it be if the supply could say, hey, I have supply, and the demand could say, hey, I have demand, and we could connect these two, I'm gonna ignore it, we can connect these two in real time. And that is what Copia does. We enable businesses and events and organizations to post when they have excess food and request a pickup. And what we do on our back end is we have this magic algorithm that'll match that amount and type of food to the nearest nonprofits that are in need. And to date, we've recovered over 800,000 pounds of food, which means we've fed over 84,000 people, which is a huge number, but it's not really fathomable. So I'll give you an example. A few weeks ago, we had the Super Bowl, and we were one of the food recovery organizations that was recovering food from Super Bowl 50 events. So the night before, it was like Friday night, one of the organizers called me and she said, you know, we're gonna need you to come pick up a few hundred pounds of food tomorrow night. Is that okay? I was like, yeah, I can handle that, a few hundred, that's no big deal. We get there, you know, my friend and I, it's actually enough food that could fill 2 huge 16-foot reefers up to their absolute brim. Enough food to feed over 14,000 people. And this was one of the smaller events at the Super Bowl. And it's not just like, you know, popcorn and corn dogs. No, it's like, you know, it's pulled pork, which is really, to be honest, isn't my jam, but it is other people's. And you know, 14,000 people who didn't have a meal got one. And that is pretty extraordinary. And that's just a piece and a part of what we do. And to me, this is my Islam. The kind of Islam that takes action. And not just based off of these ideas, but actually based on the fact that like it doesn't matter what race you are, what religion you are, or where you went to school, or how much money you have. It matters that you're a person, and you are a person in need. And today, I'm a person who can help you. And I hope that you feel the same way, that today, you're a person that could actually make a difference and do something truly extraordinary in the world. So for me, I'm solving the world's dumbest problem, the idea that hunger exists in a world where we have so much. If you want to join me, we are hiring. And, but mostly, if you have a business or event or a company of yours, or you know of companies that are wasting food, definitely request a pickup. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Ahmed. Last but not least, we have Reverend Sonny Kim.
I'm glad she went before me because I've been really short. Hi, my name is Pastor Sonny Kim. I'm the associate pastor of the St. Paul United Methodist Church, the neighbor church, right there. And on behalf of Reverend Emma Choi and lovely congregations, I want to just thank you, all of you, to being here in this place that I love. It's called Peace Terrace. When I first appointed to St. Paul United Methodist Church, when I got here, I was so moved by the way these two amazing faith communities to come together and stand together. It just shared more than just a parking lot. And we came to stand together many times in spirit of peace, of love over the years, and it's both fitting and profound that we call this place Peace Terrace. And I believe that the core of this both faith communities is that the value of love and the desire to change the world with that love. We all here know that the true peace can only be achieved by loving boldly and willing to go beyond any fear or hate, misunderstanding, or narrow-mindedness. I believe it goes without saying that we are facing tremendous forces of hate and fear in our world, and even this place, United States, we call home. All of us call home. And the fear, the forces, is perpetrated in many ways, especially through media, unfortunately. And so we need to stand, I believe, in invisible solidarity like this and take a bold stand on what we believe in. That love will always, always prevail in the end. Love always wins. And in the truth and conviction and spirit, we gather together. And I am blessed and humbled to be part of this wonderful event and to be here with all of you. And may the God of many names and faces be honored through our unity here in this place and here and now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reverend. Just a round of quick applause for every single person, one of you who are here and speaking on our behalf. Thank you. I'd like to welcome Sister Rabbi Yassin to give you the word of thanks. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.